Well, our grid is laid out well for the Grand Prix here to follow in Spain. In qualifying, Ethan took the fastest time, and lining up alongside him on the front row is Francesco in the Racing Bulls, P3 for Sam, P4 for Silky in the Aston Martin, VB Kamal P5, Nunes Garcia P6, Nashi P7, Arjun Rao P8, Smokey P9, and P10 is Jonas. I hope you have your umbrella because it is absolutely pouring down rain here in Barcelona. Soaking wet conditions. The drivers are going to have to contend with some horrible weather to begin this race. The full wet tires are out on each and every driver as you see them along the grid. These conditions, even visibility, will be a massive challenge for the drivers. Can they keep it out the wall? Can they not crash into each other? We will find out very shortly as the race will begin. And we are away. Ethan leads the pack from P1 to P22. Can he defend his lead? Into turn 1 we're on board with Sam. Francesco tries on the inside but can't make it stick. Silky gets ahead of Sam. Can he keep that position though? Silky P3 and it's Sam P4 with Francesco just behind Ethan putting pressure. Francesco gets ahead. Francesco gets ahead of Ethan to lead the Spanish Grand Prix. Will Ethan be able to fight that one back? We're not seeing it on board with them right now. Ethan does manage to get Francesco back for the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix after lap 1. But what treacherous conditions these are. Barely visible. Can barely see what is happening on track right now. Can the drivers keep it out the wall? Can the drivers not crash into each other? That will be the question until this rain subsides. But what action we can have here. And immediately, VB Kamal, a 5-second time penalty and a safety car has already been deployed. And Asian in the Alpine immediately suffers the consequences of this treacherous conditions that these drivers are racing under. And he's out of the Spanish Grand Prix. And the safety car is ending, and it has resumed racing into turn 1. Ethan trying on Francesco, can't quite make the move stick. He had a nice toe, a nice slipstream all the way down into turn 1. But all the look how many drivers are pitting. Do they think it's time for slick tires? The track is absolutely damp and wet still. Why on earth would these drivers be looking to pit now? Surely that has to be a mistake. As Ethan continues to challenge the race leader Francesco in that Racing Bulls, how many drivers have pitted onto the slick tires? Surely that must be a mistake. And as the weather has lightened up a bit, but yet absolutely still damp on track, Sam now decides to come into the pits as Nunes Garcia sets the fastest third sector. How many drivers will take the risk, or rather calculated decision, to come into the pits for slick tires right now? Seems like many are at this point, although it seems to be still too early. Here then is Nunes Garcia. What might he be able to do in this race as he finished P2 in Australia? Where might he expect to finish in this race? Ethan is in the pits. That could be huge for the lead of this race. We will see if he makes a good decision here or not. Might it still be too early for slick tires? Next turn assess the fastest third sector, not the fastest lap, just the last sector. Ethan comes out the pits now. but it is still wet. The track is still damp. You can see the spray coming off the back of these cars. All these slick tire runners, I think, have made an absolutely crucial error yet again by pitting too early, like we've seen in Silverstone. Just pitting too early, and P1 to P5 AYM have benefited surely. As Toprak now heads into the pits with Francesco Nunez Garcia, Nick Turner, and AYM, as you can see behind as well, all head into the pits to put on some fresh, slick tires on their cars. Might now be the time to pit. It looks like it is. No more spray coming off these cars. The weather has pretty much completely subsided at this point. The track looks bone dry. Can Ethan get ahead of Toprak, who is now coming out the pits? No, he cannot. And that is how you know that the drivers who pitted 1 or 2, even 3 laps perhaps too early, have suffered real consequences here. Nashi now in the McLaren pitting already after just 2 laps on the soft tire. Perhaps he had damage, not sure there. Ethan sets the fastest lap of the race so far. As expected, it is now dry, so everyone will be going a lot faster. Thanos does one on Ethan and sets the fastest lap over him now. And here is Macron as he comes into the pits for a change of tires. So give you a perspective to see how far ahead he will be against his teammate Silky, who started in P4. Look at him there on the map in P12. Aston Martin with a huge mistake. But here is Nashi now. Now it would look like Nashi is taking the fight to the Alpine of AYM here. But remember, AYM sits in P6. Nashi sits in P17, which means Nashi has to get out the way for 3 cars. That is absolutely unprecedented. A McLaren of Nashi and his teammate, reserve driver Smokey, sit P19 and P20 and getting lapped. As Chris now picks up a 5-second time penalty, Sam, or rather Ethan, comes into the pits to put on some fresh rubber. He'd be hoping that maybe these tires can get him to the end. We will see. Smokey also comes into the pits, but Chris now has to serve a 5-second time penalty. And here is your race leader, Francesco. After lap 17 comes on to fresh medium tires. Will he be able to push to the end and retake the lead of this race before the end? Here then is Toprak, who temporarily takes the lead of this race as Nunez Garcia decides to pit and get rid of these old hard tires. Degradation is a real issue here in Barcelona as the track has completely dried up. These tires are not lasting at all. Drivers are pitting 2 and 3 times just to get to the end on slick tires, and remember they started on wet tires as well, so tire degradation is seeming to be a huge problem here in Barcelona. Chris as well pitting for a 3rd time, as you can see down there in P20, and Sam does manage to undercut. It does seem Thanos in the Mercedes. He does get ahead and stay ahead. Here is your once race leader, Francesco in the Racing Bulls. He is chasing down your championship leader, Ethan, for the race win. No lapping cars, no shenanigans. Francesco will be hoping to take the lead of this race down the back straight. Can he do it? In fact, there will be no need for that. That would not happen because Ethan dives into the pits and says, I need to pit as well. To get these medium tires off, I cannot get to the end. So Ethan decides to go on pit and get fresh medium tires to get him to the end. And here then is your race leader, Francesco, absolutely dominant this week so far. With 1 lap to go, he begins the final lap of this race. Ethan in the slipstream of Toprak, who will be able to clinch onto P3. Toprak super clips and Ethan flies by to claim P3 and so far podium place if he hangs on for the rest of the lap. On board now with Grace Hunter, Sam sets the fastest first sector. As you can see, Arjun Rao in that Ferrari P9, hoping Grace Hunter will be able to chase down Arjun Rao for P9. But as we are on board now with Francesco, what a race this man has run today. World Championship leader Ethan Watt. This is Francesco now. What a race Francesco has run. And Francesco wins the Spanish Grand Prix for his first win of this season. Nunes Garcia, what a fantastic race he has run, an underrated one as well. P2 yet again from Australia, now to Barcelona. Ethan comes home with the fastest lap at the very end and finishes on the podium in P3. Toprak finishes in P4, Nick's Turner P5, Thanos in P6. An extremely strong result for Racing Bulls and Mercedes as well. Sam comes home to finish in P7, AYM not too far behind in P8. Grace Hunter in P9 does actually manage to get ahead of Arjun Rao, who will finish at this rate in P10. Macron P11. And it seems like the rest of the runners from Blitzo all the way down to Leo and Nguyen have been lapped cars, meaning we'll only have our top 11 finish this race unlapped. And that is the problem with Macron, why he has taken so long to get to the end of this race. He has a puncture. Sadly for Macron, he would not be limping home to points. It is P11 for him. Well, we have Monza next, an absolute staple of Formula 1 racing. So much flat out racing at Monza. Look forward to that, May 29th to May 31st coming up next. I can't wait for Monza, and I'm sure you can't either.